Hey guys, this has been over a week since I cleaned it. I took it out, painted it, and it's holding up quite nicely. So that's what I plan to do. The steering wheel here, you can see they're all scuffed up. So I'm gonna take this out and do a light sanding and paint. Since we're gonna be removing the airbag, you must disconnect the negative battery connection and then let the car sit for 5 to 10 minutes before you start working on it. So to get started, if you look at the side here, there's a little hole, okay? And you got this cap that goes there. And what I did was use this to pop off that cap. That's easy. But inside, it's got 6 pointed edges, and in the middle, there's like a round shaped thing. So to get that out, I bought one of these security bit set T30. So this one fits. It's a little ways in there, and my security bit is kind of short, so I had to use the extension. But I couldn't use it with this configuration. I couldn't turn it, okay? Maybe you guys have stronger hands than I. So I had to put it on a small ratchet. What you want to do is go in there like that, okay? Turn it. There's also a same security bolt on the left side of the steering wheel, so you got to get that out as well. Once you remove the two side security Torx bolts, the airbag should lift up, but don't pull on it too hard. You got a couple of connectors in there, so lift it up gently and study the wiring first. When I remove that screw, it actually fell. Now once I take this airbag out, do it very carefully. You got wires still dangling here, so if you look in there, we're gonna have to disconnect this yellow and orange connectors here. Oh, so that's the trick. Okay, so it might not be very visible on the video, but right in the center here, there's actually a little slot where you can actually put the screwdriver into. So once I'm in there a little bit, I'm twisting it. Okay. Wow. Now, at this point, okay, it's supposed to come out. I guess you don't have to remember the which one goes where because they're color matched. Okay, if you see right here, can you see? There's like a little slot right there. Okay, so that's where you want to put this in. Okay, and then twist the screwdriver just very gently but firmly to pop this up. Okay, next, this is a 19 millimeter. I got my air impact gun. Okay, so that took it out. It's kind of interesting though. Washer and the nut is kind of on there together. So I'm gonna keep it that way. With my luck, I'm sure this ain't gonna come out easily. One thing to pay attention here is, you see this line, steering column, and the marking behind it, okay? So it's very important when you put this back, that lines up. By the way, the two screws, Torx screws, when I unscrewed, they dropped. You can see one there, and lighting is not good, but there's another one here.
Alright guys, so I was about to head to the auto parts store to get the steering wheel column puller, but before I do that I figure I at least give it a try, right? So I went behind here and kind of pounded on it, not really hard, but you know, I pounded on it, and then same thing on this side, same thing on top, and you know, on the bottom. I pounded on it maybe 3, 4, 5 times each over there, and then I felt it was coming loose. Yep, so it's loose. So I just gotta disconnect the cables before I pull this out. Okay, to disconnect this cable, you can see right there, there's a tab. You gotta push that tab in. Okay, this tab right here, and then pull it out, and then of course this should just come out. Okay, anyway, I trying to hold the steering column with my knees and trying to hold the camera with one hand. This is not gonna work, so I'm gonna put the camera down and I'm gonna disconnect these two. I was actually pressing down here, but while you're pressing it down, you need something to lift it up, right? So I got this pick here and I lift it up here because that area is very tight to get your finger in there to be able to squeeze and pull out. So whenever you're working on this part here, just take your time, okay? There's a lot of sensitive wires going here. You don't want to screw this up, okay? So this wire is going to be underneath this hook here, okay? So you want to, right now I pulled it out, so you want to get that out. Don't be yanking on this and start pulling things out, you know, if something is you know, tight. And now I just got to route this out. This, since you disconnected, this part's gonna stay with the steering column, okay? So the only thing you have to do is these two airbag connectors. You're gonna push it through that hole.
Once you push the 2 airbag connectors through the hole, you can gently pull out the steering wheel. The airbag connectors will stay with the steering column.
Ever since I started my YouTube channel, my breakfast table, which my wife uses as her, she's got 2 computer stations. One is in the kitchen. She's in the baking these days, so she likes to look up recipe here. But I've embedded her table. Now it has become kind of my work table. So my Lexus, one of the headlight is turning on and off by itself, and sometimes it flickers. So I got the ballast, and that's gonna be on my next video. Back on this Nissan, what I'm gonna do right now is clean all the surface here with alcohol, and then I'm gonna sand this down just a little bit, you know, because what I found is with the that Rust-Oleum vinyl spray, it actually, if you put thick enough coat, not at one time, over multiple coats, it'll actually cover a lot of the blemishes. So I got different sandpapers. I started with 150. In fact, this is after just 150. Okay, it looks ugly now, but it'll look better after I paint. What I did was just very lightly sanded it down so that the surface is even as much as I can. Now I'm gonna touch it up with 600, and that might be good enough. If necessary, I'll smooth out a little bit with the 2000. These are the 2 security Torx screws that came out. This is what was holding up the airbag. Okay, so I just went through with 600. Now to you guys, it's probably gonna not look a whole lot different, but the surface is definitely more smooth. So at this point, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the 2000 and I'm gonna actually very, very lightly scuff up all the areas I'm gonna paint. Okay, I put a final touch with the 2000 grit sandpaper. Now it's pretty smooth, and I scuffed up very lightly all the areas that really didn't have any scars. Okay, so I'm done with sanding, and I cleaned it with alcohol, the front part and the back part. Okay, you can see all the cotton pads that I used, and I used this alcohol. I even used the brush because you got some holes in there. I don't want some dust to be deposited in there, so after sanding I used a toothbrush to go over that, and after I did the alcohol cleaning, I went through it one more time just to make sure there's no debris left in there. Let me see if I can flip this over. This is what it looks like in the back. Now it's sunsetting here, so temperature is starting to drop. So I think I'll wait until tomorrow. Let you guys take a peek at my backyard here. I got a nice lake back here. Ooh, looks like there's some family out there fishing. Let me see if I can zoom in. We had a deep freeze here, so a lot of fish died. And you can see the birds there feeding on the probably dead fish. So I taped it up. Every area that I didn't want to paint, I got it covered. The other thing I noticed is after I cleaned it pretty thoroughly with the alcohol, I felt it had a little bit of kind of an oil, waxy kind of substance. I used you can see I went through it about 4 or 5 times, and I'm gonna go through it one more time until I don't see anything. You see these kind of yellowishy stain that's coming out. This is after doing several rounds of cleaning with the alcohol. So the reason why I'm doing that is because until you get every junk out of your steering wheel, okay, especially the anything that's waxy or greasy substance, your paint's not gonna stick, or it would appear to stick and then later it's gonna start to peel. Okay, so it's important before you rush into painting, make sure, even if it takes 10 times, I think I'm gonna take a microfiber towel and slightly wet it with the warm water, and I'm gonna go around it one more time. Okay guys, taping this off was probably the most difficult part of this work. The masking tape wouldn't stick, so I used the electrical tape, but even then, getting all the edges to stick down was kind of difficult. Again, I'm using the same paint that I used for the gear shift knob. I'm having trouble trying to reorder this. I need to get one more can for additional repairs. So anyway, you're supposed to shake this at least 1 minute. I've been shaking it for a couple minutes. So that's the first coat. I'm gonna try to let it dry a few minutes. Okay, just spray the second coat. I can see it's starting to already look better. So I think I put about 5-6 coats. I went really light on the areas that were not really badly scuffed, but a couple areas the left side of the handle and the top. I gave it a little more. I really was debating whether I paint the airbag cover, because this right here was very difficult to seal off. You know, all the chrome edges. In the center there's a little bit of leather section, but I worked on it for almost 2 hours trying to tape off this area, and then I finally said, you know what, I'm gonna give up the center. Check it out, folks. This is how it looks. I did paint this. I didn't paint the inside leather because there was too much work to mask off, but I'll make a turn here. So now if you remember, this top part here and the side here and a little bit down here is where all the scuff, the worn marks were. It was all scuffed up and it was very kind of a dark brownish color. So this is how it turned out. I learned from the last time I painted gear shift knob. If you have minor blemish, if you just go over with the paint several more times, but you have to do it at a thin layer coat at a time, otherwise it's gonna run on you. It ran on me a couple times when I got aggressive, so I had to sand it down with the 2000 grit sandpaper in a couple places and then repaint. But it will cover up some of the minor blemishes. It's not perfect, but I mean, you really have to pay attention to see the blemish. So overall, I think it turned out great. And I'm really glad I decided to paint this to match the color here. If you really pay attention, you can see the color difference of this inner part here that I didn't paint. Okay guys, so I put the steering wheel back in. You have to carefully pull this through this hole here at the bottom hole. Okay, and it's gonna get a little bit of kink in the wire down here, so don't force it, just gently pull this through. Make sure it comes out freely. We're gonna tighten this lock nut here. I looked at the specification. It says 25 foot-pounds, and this one right here, these wires will go in here. So let me just do that first. Okay, so this is gonna hold the two airbag connectors. This ground's gonna go there, and this is the side that you press down. So this is gonna go back in there. So what I did was, if I push it in directly, it didn't want to go back in, seems like. So I pressed on the side tab, the tab that you pushed in to pull this out. So I pushed it down a little bit and then it snapped in. Okay, that's in there. Here it is. Okay, I got my torque set to 25 foot-pounds. heard the torque wrench stop. So one other thing, when we put the airbag, after we connect this, when we put the airbag back in, we're gonna have to tighten 2 Torx screw, right? So you're gonna come in here, you see right here, with the screw. And the problem is, while I was taking it out, I dropped the screw, and if you don't get it in there, and there's no room to get your finger in there, right? That's a very tiny hole. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna very lightly tape the bolt or the screw onto here, with the stronger side of the tape being on the on this side, so that the nut doesn't fall down, and once it's tightened, that I can actually pull this out. I'm gonna actually tape here too, so this security bit doesn't fall out, because if it does, that's a problem. If the security bit actually falls through, then I don't have a security bit to remove the security bolt, the Torx nut, to take this out, because it's gonna drop right in here. Okay, so think about that. I don't know what kind of setup you got. Airbag is shaped so that this is long, and here's a short side. It's gonna connect facing the short side. I don't even know if it plugs in the other way. Okay, but I checked the video, and that's the way it came off. Try to do this with one hand to hold the camera and the airbag. So I just lined up there's 2 pins, so don't force it in there. Make sure you line up 2 pins and make sure it lines up. Okay, I just placed in there, so I'm gonna push down. Okay, now after that, I'm gonna push down on the black piece. After you get the airbag placed in there, make sure it's kind of sitting in there comfortably. The other thing you want to check is come over here and make sure the holes are lining up. I tightened it. I think the spec was just under 10 pounds of 10 foot-pounds of torque. It worked. I was able to tighten it and pull it out and leave the bolt in there and not leave the tape in there. So I'll do the other side now. Okay, let's get the cap back in there. Okay, the battery is connected. Let me take it out for a drive, make sure everything's put back together properly. Okay, everything feels fine. So let me show you what it looks like. Look at that, guys. What do you think? Night and day difference. I still got a lot of cracks on the dashboard. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with that, but this looks awesome.